All right, let's dive into one of history's biggest mysteries. We're talking about a legendary structure, built way out at the very edges of the known world, designed to hold back something truly catastrophic.
So the story goes that this barrier, it's still standing, even now, protecting us from a force of just pure chaos. And believe me, it's not like any wall you've ever imagined.
Yeah, forget your typical bricks and mortar. I want you to picture a massive, monumental wall forged from huge blocks of iron, all fused together with molten copper. We're talking a single, solid, unbreakable mass.
And here's the crazy part. With all the tech we have today, satellites, ground-penetrating radar, the whole shebang, this wall is supposedly completely hidden, untraceable. So that begs the question, right? Who on earth could build something like this? And maybe more importantly, why?
Well, the story starts with the architect, and he wasn't some conqueror looking for glory or gold. Nope, he was a great and just king known in the Quran as Dhul Qarnayn.
So, who was Dhul Qarnayn? He was a ruler who was given just immense power and resources directly from God. But his whole mission, his whole purpose, wasn't to build a personal empire. It was to bring justice and order wherever he went.
The Quran tells us about 3 of his incredible journeys. One took him to the far west, to a place where it looked like the sun was setting in a spring of black mud. Another went to the far east, where he found people who had no shelter at all from the sun. But it's his 3rd journey, the one to the north, that's the one we're interested in. That's where he faced his biggest challenge and created his most famous legacy.
Because it was there that he found a group of people who were absolutely terrified. They were living in the shadow of this unimaginable threat, the destructive hordes of Yajuj and Majuj. You might also know them as Gog and Magog.
So who were these figures, Yajuj and Majuj? The ancient texts describe them as human, but different. Their entire nature was just chaos and destruction. Imagine them, countless in number, swarming like locusts, just pouring down from the mountains like a flood. They'd destroy crops, kill animals. They left nothing but total devastation behind them. And get this, no army could stop them.
You can imagine the people living there were just desperate. So when they saw Dhul Qarnayn at his powerful army, they saw their only hope. They went to him and offered him everything they had, all their tribute, all their wealth, if he would just, please, build something to protect them.
And Dhul Qarnayn's response? It tells you everything you need to know about him. He completely refused their money. He told them, "What my Lord has given me is so much better than your wealth." He only asked for one thing in return for his help, their strength, their manpower.
And just like that, one of the most incredible engineering projects in all of ancient lore began. A wall made not of stone, but of metal and fire.
Dhul Qarnayn had this process. It was simple but absolutely brilliant. Okay, step 1. The people gathered massive blocks of iron. Step 2. They stacked them in the pass between 2 mountains, just piling them up, higher and higher, all the way to the peaks. Step 3. They built these huge fires and used thousands of bellows to heat the whole thing up until all that iron was glowing red hot, like the sun. And then, the final step, the masterstroke. They poured molten copper all over the glowing iron.
What happens when you do that? Well, the intense heat fuses the metals together, creating a brand new alloy, something way stronger than steel that couldn't rust and was incredibly dense. What they were left with was this sheer, smooth, metallic cliff. It was too slick to climb and way too strong to break. Just like that, Yajuj and Majuj were trapped.
But here's the thing. After building this absolute masterpiece, Dhul Qarnayn didn't throw a party or celebrate his own genius. Instead, he gave everyone a pretty chilling prophecy about what would eventually happen to the wall. He just looked at this incredible thing he'd built and said, with complete humility, "This is a mercy from my Lord." He took zero credit for himself. He knew this success came from a divine power that allowed him to protect these people.
And right after that, he declared that this wall, as strong as it was only temporary. It would only stand for as long as God willed it. He said when the time for God's promise finally comes, this massive wall will be leveled, turned to dust, because that promise is the absolute truth.
Now, Islamic tradition adds this really fascinating detail to the prophecy. It goes like this. Every single day, Yajuj and Majuj dig at the wall. They almost break through. But every night, their leader says, "All right, stop, we'll finish tomorrow." The key is, they forget to say, "Inshallah," which means if God wills it.
So when they come back the next morning, the wall is totally restored, good as new. But one day, the final day, they'll remember. They'll say, "We will finish tomorrow, inshallah." And on that day, the wall will finally break.
So what happens when the wall comes down? The Quran describes the release like an unstoppable flood. They will just swarm from every direction, from every high place, pouring across the entire planet.
And if you want an idea of just how many of them there are, I mean the sheer, terrifying numbers, there's a prophecy that says the first wave of them will pass by the Sea of Galilee and drink the entire thing dry. Just gone. And then, when the last of their horde finally gets to that same spot, they'll look at the empty basin and just say, "Huh, guess there used to be water here."
So, what are we supposed to take away from all this? I mean, this is an incredible story, but it's way more than just some ancient legend, right? It's a really powerful lesson about power, about technology, and about faith.
Think about Dhul Qarnayn. He had all the resources, all the knowledge, but he knew his achievements weren't really his. He's the perfect example of a leader who has incredible power but sees it as a trust, something given to him by a higher authority. His real strength wasn't in the iron and copper. It wasn't his humility.
And the wall itself, that's a powerful symbol too, isn't it? It's basically telling us that no matter how strong or advanced or permanent we think our creations are, they're all just temporary. Even a literal mountain of metal has an expiration date, one that's set by a power much, much greater than us.
So this whole story really leaves us with one big question to chew on. We spend our lives building things, walls, empires, technologies, all designed to last forever. But in the grand scheme of things, what really lasts? Is it our greatest human masterpieces? Or is it a divine promise?